Hello everyone, Angel Wolf here with a quick video to show you guys what I've been up to. So, I've basically integrated the COT mechanics kit that I had that was on my branch so far into BIA. So that is completely in there, but it's changed a bit. I'd like to go over those changes. And so first off, we'll start with the character. Make it easier for the level editor to set up quests and stuff like that at this early stage. Again, everyone seems to be thinking way far ahead, and I'm thinking about getting two characters on the screen working together so that I can debug them correctly. So what I've done to the character, I haven't done anything with this, but one of the few things I've done was I put the character name back on the character itself. Originally, I had the character name in the character system before, but that was not necessary, so I moved it back to the character itself. So every character has a character name, and let me turn that on right now while I'm here. Now when you drop the character into the world, you can edit his name. All right now. Sometimes it just takes a few seconds. There it goes. Okay, so second thing is you'll notice we have a BPC, blueprint component called mechanics here that is attached to the character. These are all of its basic stats starting off. All how it's initialized right here. So let's go into that. You can see how everything's been organized. Basically, I have the characters in this folder. I have the components here, which is where the mechanics, dialogues, eventually the quest systems can end up there too. I don't know why it isn't, honestly. This is probably because it's still an actor and I haven't changed it to a component yet. So here it is, BPC mechanics. This is basically my version of the mechanics actor, and see, it's got all the same functions. I'll go to the event graph. Okay, the event graph is pretty much the same. Didn't change a whole lot. All of the basic functionality is still there. A lot of it was just recreations of the same exact functions. Everything else is still here. All this stuff, except you'll notice that there is no constructor, there is no initializer really. There is no need for any of that because it is straight up an actor component. Constructible actors and constructible components were not necessary, so I removed them, and the only thing that actually has instruction and inputs would be the object, which is the brunt of the system. So basically, this starts off not ticking. It starts off not ticking, and I created a little function here that's called a knit mechanics, which is going to be called when everything's loaded and we're ready to start it ticking and replicating. So this basically just says if we're on the dedicated server, set to replicated, start the tick, and event tick starts running. It doesn't run until that point. And when we go to begin pay, we go to create meters, change that. There is no more input and construction. It simply creates meters, making meters, and it creates the actual constructed EPO meters. It sets the value variables. We have our action, energy, health, so on and so forth. Where are they now? Sometimes I don't like the fact that all these things are closed because I can't see everything at once. I wish there was a button where I could just click to unfold all so I could see all my variables like that. So we can see our meters. We have our 5 meters here, and we have protections here. So these attributes here are actually redundant because they are not really going to be used. Well, they're not being used in some of the cases they were before. So basically, sets up, creates the meter, sets it to health, sets its initial values, sets the initial values, sets the initial values. So this basically replaces the whole input constructor thing. We just set the value for that meter as we set it up. And then when we go into the meters themselves, you'll notice that the meters are now all objects. They are not components because the mechanics is now a component. So the meter is a component. It's an actor, and I left the parenting pretty much the same. I just renamed things to the object, BPO, and repair and max are set here just like they were. So basically, when you go further into the meter parameters, you'll see that there is no initializer because it's being initialized here. We're setting it up, constructing it, setting it, giving it values, so on and so forth. Another thing that has been majorly removed is I moved the inputs and the abstracts to their own folders, separate from the actual objects that I work with a lot. Have the abstracts and we have the inputs, and none of the inputs have JSON stuff anymore. All the JSON functionality has been ripped out of the inputs because it's not needed. The reason why is because handle one JSON object. If we're saving our character, this is the create save character request. This is called from the system. It creates the request here, one single request object, and then it gets the number, it gets the character ID from the character, gets the player character, gets the mechanics, gets the value of health, the current value of health, sets the number field to that, gets the current value of energy, gets the current level, and it gets all that from the mechanics component, which is how it worked originally, how it worked with the other character system I had. You simply just got the values from the component and put them into the JSON object. So it's all done in one JSON object. Get the instance, check the value, set the number fields. This is the instancing part. We have our dialogues, our quests, quest nodes, and then finally it sets up the dial. It creates a couple of sub objects, and then finally it creates the final object and sends the final object. And the response is the same exact thing. It plugs in the values. So if we want to set the quest still, values are down here. Okay, so we've got the player character. There's the mechanics right there. We're setting the health current value to the value that we're retrieving from the JSON. So getting the level, so on, from the response object, and everything still works through the mechanics just like it worked with the other character system I had installed. And it sets up the dialog manager. Init mechanics is called here. Once it's finished loading all the values, init mechanics is called to set it to replicate and to set the ticking to start. So that is handled there. The AI, not the AI. Well, there is a part to the AI, so I'll go over that, but that's under characters here. AI basically does the same thing. Once the character has been loaded and all the values are set, it initializes the mechanics. Though right now it's just using the default values. Nothing's been set up. So that is pretty much why I did that. And finally, the UI. You'll notice that the UI components have been ripped out because the UI is a separate object as well, separate system. We want to keep things separate. We don't want to put them together. As Avel said in the chat room the other day, and it kind of resonated with me, it's like, yeah, I'm making it component based. It's set up so that, the objects work together. So basically the objects we're talking about here would be the target, main HUD. Sure, it's in the game, but yeah, there it is. Target name, player name, so on. These values are updated using C mechanics. So the HUD itself looks at the character, get owning player pawn, cast to it, it gets current target, it checks the mechanics of the target, gets the health values, so on and so forth. The health target text, and there's health target, get target name, which whereas I changed the name so that the name easily retrieved. Health bar percent, again, same idea. Get the mechanics, we grab the health value from mechanics, divide the current value by the maximum value. So that is pretty much where I'm at. Out of here. The thing I'm not probably going to change much, considering that it makes sense that it works that way, would be the powers. And that is their objects powers. The powers I really haven't touched because they are very complex, whereas the mechanic here. As you can see with the create, make, self, heal, we've got 1, 2, 3 separate input objects that all work together to create this one output object. So in the case of the powers, I'm pretty much leaving them alone unless I can figure out a way to avoid using the inputs. The reason why I don't like the inputs is because it's redundant data. It's reusing the same exact variables when they can easily just be plugged in, as I showed in the create meters. They can just easily be plugged in to the actual object after it's been created right here. So that's where I'm at. Again, I don't want to create any arguments or anything with anybody, but this is the way I needed to do it in order to make it work with what I have, rather than what was created separately. The new character and the new game, and then it's like all that stuff I've already created, and I don't want to change those things because they work, and they work already. So why would I want to change something? To make it fit this idea that doesn't really mesh well with the engine. So that's where I'm at, and I'll talk to you guys later.